Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scene. I'm Carlo Jimenez with Sam Reno and Quentin Sortino, and we have a lot to get to today, so let's get right into it. USC's baseball season is in full swing. The Trojans are 2-2 after last night's loss to San Diego at home and a 2-1 weekend against Santa Clara. Quillan, what are your impressions of the team 4 games in?
Well, thanks, Carlo. For anybody that's played MLB The Show ever, if you ever let the leadoff man get on base, the broadcast booth says that bad things are going to happen. And unfortunately for the Trojans, that's exactly what happened, particularly yesterday. There were 3 instances in half innings where they let the leadoff man on, and there were runs that did indeed score. And I just think that they need to get their walks in check because they gave up 6 walks yesterday. They gave 12 walks over the entire 4-game stretch in which they went 2-2. And quite honestly, this is a team that's been playing mediocre ball against 2 pretty mediocre teams. I mean, UC San Diego went 18-33 last year. And so if I had to sum up this baseball team in one word, a team that went 25-26 last year, that word would be boring.
Yeah, and you mentioned the pitching. You've given up at least 5 runs in 3 of those first 4 games. You're going to need offensive production to make up for that, and they just haven't been getting it. And sure, the top of the lineup has been sort of producing, but even Thomas and Turner and Smith yesterday against San Diego combined to go 1 for 10 in that loss. If your offense isn't going to keep up with it and the pitching is going to continue on like this, it could be a long year for USC baseball.
Yeah, my biggest concern so far has been the arms out of the bullpen. Quillan, you mentioned how it's been a boring, and part of the reason is because the Trojans have had so many pitchers have to come out and warm up. Games are going 3.5 hours through the first 4. Trojans need to be able to trust their arms in the pen, and throughout this first part of the season, we've seen 4 or 5 guys come out of the bullpen every single game. The arms aren't in midseason form. They just can't do that this early. And if the Trojans can't rely on anybody in already a very young and shallow bullpen, just 3 left-handed pitchers, they're going to have a long season ahead of them, and it's going to be tough to watch.
Yeah, Carlo, and you know what else? It's just this offense has been hit or miss. They've scored either 7 or 2 runs in both games, and so this offense really needs to get it together. They need to stay consistently, maybe 4 or 5 runs a game, and they have to have these pitcher arms not give up walks and also strike out hitters, because you see with pitchers that don't strike out batters, they're going to give up hard contact.
USC will take on Omaha at Dedeaux Field for a 3-game set this weekend. The women's basketball team has just 2 games left in its regular season as it tries to build some momentum for next week's Pac-12 tournament. The Trojans will take on the Arizona schools on the road. Sam, let's hear from you first. How does this weekend play out for the women of Troy?
Well, unless Tara Reid can channel those VCU days, shout out Ram Nation in Richmond, it's not going to look too good this weekend. The team's a little banged up. In that Arizona State game, maybe if you're healthy, it's winnable. And Arizona is an incredible team. And sure, you got them at home earlier, but you're not healthy. They're looking for revenge. It's in Tucson. For me, this is all about next week. It's about getting healthy, getting rested, having everybody back. And the way that Jenkins and Sanders and Marshall have been playing of late, including the way they lit up Utah on Friday night, maybe you make a run. Maybe you surprise some teams, but that's not going to come this weekend.
You know, guys, I don't know about that. This is going to be a tough game. But you know what? This is going to be predicated on offense. When this team scores more than 70 points in a game, they're 10-0, and when they don't, they're 1-14. I think another player that we got to keep an eye on, though, is Rhea Marshall. She just won the Freshman Pac-12 Player of the Week, scoring 20.5 points per game and averaging 10.5 rebounds per game. She has double digits in 9 straight games, and also she's just absolutely playing out of her mind. She has a block in 20 straight games. How about that?
Yeah, I think we're a little too negative right now, guys. Look, this is a golden opportunity for this USC team this weekend. They come in banged up, opportunity for the players on the bench who haven't got to play a whole lot to show their skills and ability. What do teams need to be able to do to make deep runs? And that's have deep benches. And the Trojans can really help their bench get some big-time experience in Arizona. Look at the 3 freshmen right now that are playing out of their minds. You mentioned Rhea Marshall. Second time she's earned Pac-12 Freshman of the Week. Clarissa Akonwafo has been very strong on the defensive end. A ton of blocks for her. She has been disruptive against some of the best bigs in the conference. And Bella Perkins been struggling as of late, but we saw what she did against Washington State. 15 points, all from bonus distance. The Trojans have a chance to get their young players valuable experience, which should set them up nicely for a run later in the season in that Pac-12 tournament we mentioned in 2 weeks. I think this is a huge opportunity for the Trojans. Well, let's flip from the men's side to the women's side. The Trojans men's basketball team has a weekend road trip of its own, heading up north for 2 matchups against the Oregon schools. A tough one against Oregon State and Oregon, as always. How does this weekend play out for the men's team?
Well, Carlo, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but Boogie Ellis, that's exactly how it's going to play out. On Sunday night against Washington State, 21 points on 6 of 10 from the field. And I don't know if you've heard, but he did hit that step-back game winner from the free throw line. Enfield finally gave him the ball in a late-game situation, and he delivered just like we all knew he would. And let's go to the Shoes for a second. Their last loss that wasn't a Kobe, January 27th was the last time the Boogie Ellis wore a shoe that wasn't a Kobe. That was a pair of Kyrie Irving's in a loss against Stanford. It's been all Kobe since, and their only loss has been a close one down in Tucson. USC is a better team when Boogie's in the Kobe's, and Boogie is a better player when he's in the Kobe's.
Yeah, guys, we have to realize this is an Oregon State team that's won just 3 games and haven't won since the new year. So I think this is a very winnable game, but let's not undermine the USC has to figure out a way to solve the kinks over the weekend against Washington State. I mean, usually they're dominant in the paint. That was non-existent. Usually their transition game is good. That was non-existent. Also, not once, but twice, they failed to score a field goal in 6 minutes, 2 times. So they need to figure that out. Also, Boogie Ellis, he's had a couple of offers. Let's get him squared away, and let's make sure that Isaiah Mobley, their best player, doesn't have 29% shooting proficiency. Let's make sure this team can get on a roll and have everything work together, because thank gosh that at the end they changed that zone defense to man defense. Otherwise, I don't know whether they would have won that game against Washington State.
Guys, I'm going to be honest, I'm worried if I'm USC right now going into the weekend against the Oregon schools. Look, this is an Oregon team that is coming off a loss by just one deep 35-foot 3 from Kerr Carissa against number 2 Arizona last Saturday, and a team that dominated USC here at the Galen Center early in the year. What's more, Trojans really haven't been playing their brand of basketball as of late. What does USC do best? They rebound the ball. What haven't they been doing? Rebounding the ball. They gave up 14 offensive rebounds in the last 4 games to opponents on average, and what's more, those extra possessions are allowing other teams to take 15 plus more shots than them in games. We saw that Washington State at one point had 23 more field goal attempts than the Trojans, and the Trojans got lucky, thank goodness for Boogie Ellis. But Sam, are we really talking about shoes right now? We might as well ask the guy if he woke up on the left side or the right side of the bed in the morning. That has nothing to do with this play. I want to look at the stats when he's in the game, no matter what shoes he's wearing. Against the top 3 Pac-12 schools, Oregon the first time out, he had 18 points, took him 21 shots to get there. Against UCLA, did not score. Against Arizona, didn't score in the first half, 6 points on the game in the entire second half. Ellis has really not shown out against the top 3 teams. I'd be worried if I'm the Trojans.
Well, on the shoes, if you go to annenbergmedia.com and look up Let Boogie Cook and Where is Kobe's, you'll see exactly how the Kobe's correlate to both Boogie's mindset on the floor and this USC team's overall success. And to those 3 games you just talked about, the Arizona game, it gets knocked out early. I'm willing to extend some sympathy there. And the Oregon game, I have no problem with him taking that many shots when nobody else seemed willing to take an open shot. And if this USC team isn't playing their brand of basketball or they're struggling, they still almost beat Arizona on the road, which we seem to then hold Oregon up for nearly beating Arizona, but we tear USC down for doing the same. It doesn't make sense to me. And let's go to that Oregon loss earlier this year. Let's look at some anomalies in that game. Kepnang and Dante missed 1 combined shot between the 2 of them. Will Richardson exploded for a career-high 28 points and seemed unconscious at times during that game. And oh yeah, there were no fans in the Galen Center. It was just DJ Amalski and cavernous echoes. That was it. I sat in this very chair 2 weeks ago and talked about how some regression was going to help USC beat UCLA, and they did. And the same thing will happen in Eugene this weekend.
Well, we'll find out on Saturday. It's title defense time for USC Beach Volleyball. The Trojans will open the season tomorrow against number 15 Long Beach State, fresh off their 4th national championship in program history. A lot of expectations for this team. Preseason ranked number 1. Do they have what it takes to go back-to-back?
This team absolutely has what it takes to go back-to-back. You look at last season, they played almost the entire second half of their schedule away from home and still went 30-4. And what if I told you they actually got better this year? They bring in 2 all Pac-12 transfers in Caroline Schaefer from Cal and Sonny Villalpando from Stanford. This team improved on how good they were last year. They're more than built to repeat as national champs.
And guys, let's look at the bigger picture. Let's look at the bigger picture. Man, I'm getting my words jumbled up. USC is a school of expectations. You see, all eyes are on the basketball team now. They're going 23-4. You have Lincoln Riley in the football team, 4-star recruits, 5-star recruits. This is a school of expectations, and for a team as good as the beach volleyball team, all eyes are on them. They need to perform, or otherwise we will turn our backs on them and look at the other bigger sports.
Well, yeah, if you want to talk about those expectations, there's no 2 players built for it more than those North twins who are now juniors. They've experienced the pressures of a program that expects to win national championships. This team is built for it, has the experience, and has brought in the additional talent that's required to get over the hump in a second year.
That'll do it for Sports Scene today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. For Sam Reno and Quillan Sortino, I'm Carlo Jimenez. Catch you next time.